All right, let's do this. Welcome, everyone. My name is Cyril. I'm going to be your host. For the ones coming, don't hesitate to come close to me. Don't go in the back. So who is here for the first time? Do we have like some first-timers? Yes, a few. Who was there at the conference? Nice, nice, nice. Cool. All right, so for the ones who just joined tonight, we are the AI user group. We are running different events, some meetups. We are doing this every month. We have 3 verticals, AI for developers, AI for designers, AI for marketers. And every meetup is repeating every month. And then we have a conference that most of you have missed, so I'm sad to see that. But it's going to come back next year. Also, we are thinking of running like some lower scale conference here. If you guys think about any topics that you think will be interesting, we are thinking of having like very niche topics and maybe doing it here. We have another room over there for workshops, so maybe having like 2 tracks. So if you think about any topics that you think will be interesting, come and see me, and I would love to talk to you about this. All right, so that's for us. This is the agenda for today. First, Mikayel. It's here, right? Yeah. First, Mikayel will talk about how to 100x your data team. Then we'll have Thierry talking about the new research in agentic frameworks. And then Dhruv will talk about building faster with Google AI Studio. For the newcomers here, we have a tradition. At our meetups, we have an open mic. So that means you're going to join me on stage. And if you are looking for a job, if you are looking for a co-founder, if you are launching something cool, you come here and you present that to the community. Also, if you are looking for beta testers, we all need beta testers. We are all working on side projects. So you come here and you present what you are working on, and you can create some great connections after that. And then we'll have our pizza and networking at 8. The venue is closing around 8:50. Around 8:50, maybe a little bit later, but something like that. Then we have calls for speakers. So if you are working on something cool and you want to demo it next time, you also come and see me, and we'll get you scheduled for a next meetup. All right, Mikayel, let's do this. You're first.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, let's give a round of applause to Mikayel.
Hello, everyone.
Let's give him some love.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. So the fun fact is a version of this talk was presented at the great conference that you should have definitely attended. And I was like, yeah, perhaps we shouldn't be doing the same talk. And then I saw the show of hands that not a lot of you have been at the conference. I was like, crap, I shouldn't have come up with like a completely new topic and demo. So today we're going to talk about something you've never heard before, definitely, is how to deploy AI data agents for the enterprise. And to kind of prime this discussion, what I'm going to ask you is the following 2 questions. So by show of hands, like, who has used Cursor before? Great. I wish the investors have seen that. Not a lot of people actually have raised their hands. And who has used data science notebooks before? It's actually less people. I hope our investors don't see this. So, so basically, to prime this discussion, what we're going to talk about today is how would you approach if you needed Cursor, but for data, essentially. And this is kind of the spoiler alert for this talk. I'm Mikayel. I'm from Deepnote. And Deepnote is used by leading data teams across different industries, be it fintech, biotech, gaming, you name it. We're used by Rump, we're used by Gusto, we are used even by Norwegian Wealth Fund, central banks of countries. And we're basically the way for you to converge together on your hardest data problems and solve them. But what does that mean? And because I already did the spoiler alert, let me kind of bring it full circle. So how did it start? Deepnote kind of stands on the shoulders of giants. This whole movement started in 1980s with the release of Wolfram Mathematica and Maple. So before that, when you had to solve a data problem, you would probably write up things in your notepad or a similar thing, and then execute the code in command line interface. After Wolfram Mathematica and Maple were released, you were actually able to kind of marry those two concepts together and actually provide commentary to your code. But the licenses were extremely, extremely expensive for those two softwares. So they were never really adopted. And if I kind of fast forward this history, one major shift happened with the IPython release that helped you kind of converge together kind of narrative, code, analysis, some figures. And then IPython post kind of the third version, if I'm not mistaken, split up, spinning out Jupyter, which has IPython as its kernel, actually. And Jupyter became, in 2014, became the kind of a 2013-14, became the standard for an open source data science notebook that kind of no one lab. And now, this happened a decade ago, before AI, before teams were working together, before there was a lot of data from different sources. And when there was just one or two people at the company who knew what they were doing and they were working on their task and minding their own business. We're entering an era of AI and collaboration. So at Deepnote, we started maybe 6 years ago with the idea of how do we reimagine this collaboration when we knew AI was coming, we knew data is not going away, and we knew that increasingly this will become a kind of an intertwined problem where a lot of teams would be collaborating on the same data. So that's why we built what we built. You can imagine this as cursor, but for data. And instead of talking for a very long time, I'm going to just show you what that means. So this is Deepnote. This is kind of the familiar notebook interface that we all know and love. What I've done here currently to my left, just to speed up the process, I've already uploaded a list of a lot of transactions. So kind of spoiler alert, we're now gonna vibe analyze a credit card transaction fraud use case. So what I'm now going to do is I'm going to say, hey, build me an AI data agent that can analyze the transactions. And so we'll see what actually happens. So first of all, Deepnote has about 60 plus data integrations. It ranges from your standard Google Drives and Snowflakes to ClickHouse, Athena, you name it. So wherever your company feeds the data from. We pride ourselves in keeping all of those sources fresh, essentially, by the time you need them. So right now, Deepnote AI went and found this data set, which wasn't super hard, to be honest, but it'll do it with more data sources as well. So we're going to say, hey, use this data. So what Deepnote will do right now is going to train a model that will predict if the transaction is valid or not. And then I'm pretty curious myself how this will turn out. Reason being, for instance, I am a PyTorch user. I hate TensorFlow. I've never even cared enough to study it. I'm also kind of relatively more young to be coding on TensorFlow. So I've used a lot of TensorFlow, PyTorch in my previous projects. Hopefully, Deepnote AI will actually pick up on my preference for this. So In the meantime, let's see what's going. So basically, what we'll have here is it understood, kind of tried to load the data set. It tried to do some basic preprocessing. Obviously, you can use the AI chat to kind of interface back and forth with this and make the analysis more robust. And then it actually did train PyTorch model. I think it should be training still. Let's see. So yes, we still have some time to go about it. In the meantime, let me just summarize what Deepnote actually will do for you. So first of all, you can bring together your Python SQL queries. I originally started my data science journey with R. If anybody else still uses it, then you can use R with Deepnote as well. Obviously, we've covered the Copilot features, and it kind of goes beyond the Copilot, where not only can you connect your data from any source and then kind of reactively analyze it, but also build a proactive workflow that's agentic. One of the Deepnote's benefits is that it comes with a lot of enterprise-grade security features. So if you need fine-grained access control, and this specific person can only ask this specific set of questions on this specific set of data, you are able to achieve that. You're able to have full version control and time travel, and we have a wide range of compute options. Whether this is, if you need, you basically can also bring your own cloud or deploy this fully locally in your own VPC. So let's check back with the training. Let's see what we found. Yes, we basically trained the model. It will comment on it. So basically here we have pretty good accuracy, which, to be honest, this is a basic model and a basic data set. So I would be surprised if it wasn't accurate. And then it'll comment on some descriptive stats. What I want to do next is, what I get suggested here is hey, would you actually like me to ingest the data? And Deepnote can actually create a fast API server or listen to a Kafka topic. So this will help us kind of make it a little bit more production grade. So let's do fast API would be better. Cool. So what it actually will do is it will create a separate model serving notebook. What this helps do when we go and then we enable incoming connections, it helps you actually use Deepnote and kind of create a web app or connect it to another web app without the need to actually build the entire underlying infrastructure. So right now, let me kind of go back and terminate this. Go to the terminal. Okay, so let's do this. Perfect. So what I want here probably is something like this. And then with a little bit of luck. Perfect. So what we are right now doing is I'm basically simulating the transactions real time for my local machine right here. But this is, or I'm actually not doing this. 1 second. Let me see. Let's try it again. I apologize. It wouldn't be a demo without something not working. So. Okay. Perfect. So let's do that. Actually, 1 second. There we go. in the meantime, while we were starting up the machine, because that's probably what happened, let me just skip to one part and then come back to it. So first of all, what we are helping you do is to make the data accessible for AI. So basically, how can we connect all your data and then ask some kind of analytical questions? So, hey, can you create a customer churn model? The second part is getting the instant insights. So this is, let's say I'm traveling to London, and then I would like to meet some customers. And then, hey, are there any customers that I should meet that are likely to churn? So this is a question you can ask in Deepnote. And then the third part is the one that hopefully will get working in a little bit, and this is the monitor unusual activity. So let's say, hey, if suspicious accounts are signing up for Deepnote and mining cryptocurrency, can you notify me and probably disable them? So let me go back. Our machine should be started up by that point in time, and then. So we should be good here. So let's hope for the best. There we go. This is perfect. So right now, I'm actually connected as I wanted. And let's do the following. Let's say I need to actually create a dashboard here with the transaction data. So we're going to wait a little bit for the dashboard to be created. And this is the part where we're turning from the reactiveness to the proactiveness, essentially, where we're like, hey, can you actually build a dashboard for our credit card transaction monitoring? I'm pretty curious to see what it built. So we have, we're loading the transactions. We are kind of ingesting the insights from the model, analyzing it over time, and then as we can see here, which is what I hope to see, is essentially, oh, I apologize. We actually are serving the transactions, analyzing them real time. And this was a workflow that was built by a marketing person right in front of you, which is kind of pretty cool. So to kind of sum up, right, how to 100x your data team. I think one important thing is, you bring your data together here, you make it accessible all for your team and for AI as well, and you enable your team to get the answers instantly whenever they need them, whenever they are contextually relevant. We've seen this with the kind of the PyTorch example, right? My preference was to train a PyTorch model. Deepnote knew that and kind of resurfaced it. Also to automate those. So this year we're talking a lot about not only just deploying data agents to production or generally just agents, but also making them actually general agents, not just like deep research agents, where you are able to do some tasks really, really well. Now, with Deepnote, what you're able to do is you're able to offload a part of this very hard data problem to an AI agent that is always on and can take care of that work, and then expand its capabilities by exposing it through an MCP server, essentially, that we have for our enterprise customers, where you can basically connect to anything that has an MCP server. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I think one thought that I want to leave you with is Deepnote is like Cursor, but for data in this context, except it's not just an IDE. is where you have the necessary computer environment, the security features, and all of the data connectors to actually solve your hardest data problems. So with that, thank you very much. I think we're good to go with the questions.
Nice. So do we have questions for Mikayel? Yes.
It's a light weighted question, like what's the limitation of it? Like let's suppose how many million records it can understand at a single go.
Sorry, how many million? What?
How many records it can handle at a single time, or how many integration it can handle at a single point of time.
Yeah, we can scale up and down kind of elastically. We don't really care. We are supporting largest banks and companies like Ramp that have a lot of those transactions. So
Thank you.
yeah.
More questions? So Mikayel, how is it different from
There was a question.
who? You first.
Sorry, Cyril.
No problem. How does it handle like security? Since you're talking about banks,
Yeah.
you have to make sure the data is like privacy and things like that.
Of course. So first of all, GDPR, HIPAA, whatever, like for sure, like yes, SOC 2 compliance, all those things. One of the things that I think are important is, first of all, like the fine-grained access control. Essentially, not like you can emulate the permissions essentially that you have on your cloud bucket. Essentially, you have audit logs. Honestly, anything that the financial companies require, and these are the most stringent requirements alongside with biotech. This is another like good vertical for us. We already have, because we have been serving these clients for 6 years. There's about 500,000 people using Deepnote. So, and you can extrapolate the amount of data teams from there.
More questions? Okay, Mikayel, I know you like this question. How is it different from code interpreter?
Right. Well, first of all, I don't imagine, to kind of the point of the previous question, I don't imagine you uploading all your data into code interpreter, but people do that. If you need something that runs locally, like kind of single tenancy or just like locally deployed on your VPC, you would need a solution that's a little bit more robust. Code interpreter, to the best of my knowledge, lacks the integrations, just basically like right out of the books. That's a very stark difference. Now that can be built in theory. Do you want to be funneling all your data to OpenAI is another question. Now, more importantly, it's code interpreter is not, just like Jupyter, just like any other notebook, it's not collaborative. So you cannot like collaborate with your data team there. And so we built Deepnote with that in mind. Like, how do we help people collaborate with each other on the data problems? And also, how do we help people collaborate with data agents on those set problems? And yeah, security. So
Nice. Okay, we have time for one more question. No more? All right. Thanks, Mikayel.
well, thanks a lot, guys. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. And next, it's going to be Thierry.
Hello, hello, hello. So I like to start off all of my talks with a selfie. Shout out my man Seldo from Llama Index taught me this trick. All right. Okay, so inspired a bit by my friend from Deepnote, I had a bunch of slides, but I think I'm going to start it off with something a little more fun. I want to show you guys one of the ways that you can use Qdrant. So Qdrant is a vector database, and vector databases obviously can handle all kinds of unstructured data. And one of the modalities that we've started to get really interested in is video. So I have here this selective attention test, and I'm just going to play a piece of it so that you can see what it looks like. The idea here is if you had a video, you might have seen this video before with the monkey. Someone asks you to do something in the video, and then there's something else happening in the video that you're supposed to kind of like miss, right? So in this video, the idea is you're counting the amount of times that people have their hand raised, but there's like a creepy person in the background just kind of standing there, right? And the idea is we ask you, hey, how many times did you count the hand raises? But did you even notice that there was this person in the background, right? And I think this is a really cool video to show people the power of being able to use Qdrant with video, because I actually uploaded this video and I asked it some questions such as, how many people are in this video? And we there have an answer. In the video, there's 3 people prominently featured, but it also notes that there's a person standing in the background, right? So this is kind of the power of being able to use Qdrant to search through your unstructured data. And then the other benefit of this technique is if you look at this question I asked at the bottom, what is the price of the tea? What is the price of tea in China? It doesn't make up the answer, right? It tells you, hey, this video has nothing to do with the price of tea in China. I'm not going to answer that question. So by using the relevant documents from the vector database, what Qdrant is able to do is, even with video, get you those accurate answers. So you can imagine building a video search or recommendation system. And that's using 12 labs models. And we're doing an event with them on the 22nd, which I'll talk about more later. So, sorry, just wanted to silence my phone. So talking about Qdrant, if you're not familiar with Qdrant, we are a vector database. What is a vector database? A vector database is a way to take your data and turn it into numbers. We work with text, we work with images, we work with audio, we work with video. So you can see some of our clients here at the bottom, a bunch of companies that have a bunch of data and they need to get insight from that data, right? So HP, X, Deloitte, Quora, Disney, Johnson & Johnson, Bosch, these companies that have a bunch of unstructured data and they need to figure out what to do with it. And kind of, if I go back to that example of the video, you can kind of think of how you might think of your data in terms of breaking this up, right? We all have these pieces of our data that are the people raising their hands, but then we also have those pieces of data that are really crucial, but they're hiding in the back. So we want to be able to create systems that can find answers to those questions, not only to those people in the front, but also be able to notice those people in the back, right? So that's what we work on every day at Qdrant, is being able to build these scalable search systems for any kind of data. So going quickly into some slides, I'm not going to show everything, but I do want to show you guys some technical stuff. So I'm first going to just give you a whirlwind tour of Qdrant. Then I'm going to talk about some new research that we're working on called Mikayel. And then we're going to end it by talking about Google Kubernetes engine. I was just in Las Vegas at Google Next, and I got to present on that. And I know that Google's following me up, so I figure great place to share about that. So if you're not familiar with Qdrant, once again, we are all about high performance vector search at scale. So what we focus on are people with billion plus vectors and getting you that search really quickly, accurately, and cheaply. And we once again work with tons of companies. You can think of Deutsche Telekom, you can think of Mozilla, you can think of Discord, TripAdvisor. So these are all partners that we're excited to work with. In terms of AI agents, what we have found is that the vector database is starting to become a crucial piece of the AI agent, simply because in old patterns, or I guess in old systems for AI workflows, AI chains, AI stuffing, whatever you want to call it, before it was AI agents, there wasn't this need to constantly hit the vector database. What's happening now is your agent wants to talk with other agents, maybe even in parallel. It wants to be able to look at what it did in the past. It wants to be able to do research. So all of a sudden, it's constantly hitting that vector database. And if you don't have a system in place that can handle that, what you'll see is that you'll start off with that 300 millisecond latency that everyone wants. And then 12, 24 months down the line, your search is taking 2 seconds if you're lucky. And you're saying, hey, what's going on here? Well, what's going on is the systems that you're using are now hitting the vector database much more frequently, and you haven't really planned for that. So you can use Qdrant for free. We give you 1 gigabyte for free for life, no credit card required if you scan that code, or if you just go to qdrant.com, you can sign up, get started for free. We're open source, of course, fully open source, but we give you 1 gigabyte for free on the managed cloud. And you should know that we recently ran some tests to figure out, okay, what does 1 gigabyte actually mean? And it comes out to about 17 million vectors. So unless you're starting to get above that, you don't really need to worry about anything with Qdrant. So just kind of quickly diving into AI agents. ELIZA is what I consider to be kind of the beginning of AI agents. There's some other ones, and this came out in '66. There's Mr. Shaky, and then there's also Dendril, which was a chemical kind of protein folding back in the day in the '60s. But this is all to say that AI agents aren't new, right? The new thing is simply we have these new paradigms. There's this AI agent market land space from AIagentdirectory.com. And there's like literally 200 companies on here. I'm sure every company in this room is represented here in some way, shape, or form. I know Qdrant's on there, Google and Deepnote, right? So the cool thing about AI agents is now they have access to all of these tools. And we love the tools, but then you have to say, why do you need the vector database? And that's kind of what I was talking about earlier, is now the agents are doing a little more than they used to. So one big thing that they're doing is this query improvement and refinement. So that's the idea. If you were to query something like dinner in San Francisco tonight, it's gonna rewrite that query to say, find me 3 restaurants in San Francisco this evening that are available for dinner in a specific area or maybe zip code, right? Because people aren't very good at prompting. So we found out that if we massage their prompt, sometimes they get answers that they like more. Retrieving those documents, right? So once again, your agent is gonna have to hit some kind of knowledge store usually to be effective. And then generating the response, of course, that's pretty obvious. And then finally, semantic caching, which is this idea of being able to cache not just on exact matches, but also being able to cache based off of semantic similarity. So if someone were to ask, for example, the weather in Paris, and then someone else comes and says the weather in the capital of France, instead of hitting the LLM again, you can just grab it from cache, right? So the big question, and the thing that I ask myself every day, is how do we actually turn this data into dollars, right? And there's a few different ways we do this, but the big way that we do this is via neural embeddings. So what is a neural embedding? Well, it's this idea that if we have 2 sentences that have different words but similar content, we should be able to represent those sentences with numbers and give them similar numbers so that the user would know, hey, these things are similar. And that's kind of magical because if I say, for example, what is the average height in this room, it's very easy to calculate that. I'm gonna add up all the height of everyone, divide it by how many people in the room. If I say, what is the average sentiment on giving your children allowance when they're 15 years old, all of a sudden it gets a little tricky, right? It would be much harder to kind of figure out what's the average score there. That's where the vector database comes in, because we could assign numbers to everyone's answer, and all of a sudden we could figure out, well, this is what the average feeling is. We think 15-year-olds should get $20 a week. And the way that this works is via this GPT model transformer, but in the interest of time, I'm not gonna get too deep in the weeds. But the beautiful thing about vector databases is this idea of RAG, which I'm sure you've heard of before. It's retrieval augmented generation, which basically means if you go use something like Google Gemini or Perplexity or OpenAI and you say, what time do I need to leave my house to get my kids to their soccer practice? It's going to say, I have no idea when the practice is, where it is, what time. But if you upload a PDF of your schedule, all of a sudden it can answer. And that's the beauty of RAG, right? We're going to give it information to give you a more accurate answer. So one thing I want to touch on before I move on into Mikayel is this idea of chains versus agents. This is one thing I think people get slipped up on, is what is an agent? You know, there's a lot of debate over what actually makes an agent. I don't think it really matters how you define the agent. For me, it's about having a system that can do things autonomously. It's not just a series of if and else statements, or maybe even elif statements. But it's this idea that we're not using these techniques that we already know about. So one of them is stuffing. The next one is map reduce. The next one is refining. The next one is map re-rank. And all of those are this idea of basically chaining together different queries, right? We've been doing that. We'll continue to do that. In my mind, that's not an agent, right? What I think an agent is this idea of using a LLM or a transformer model to choose the next best action to perform, right? And that might be based on, for example, tool description. So I might have a weather tool and I might have a news tool. When I ask weather in Paris, the tool needs to be smart enough to decide to use the weather tool as opposed to the news tool. It could probably get the weather from the news tool, right? But obviously that's not the way that we want to go about it. So when we talk about the process that we're actually looking at in terms of the architecture, we've got the AI agents, we've got the process, we've got the task, and then we've got the outcome. And I'll be sharing these slides because I know I'm kind of blowing through them, but I do just want to get through kind of a nice general tour. So this is the architecture here now for the agentic workflow, by default, vanilla, if you will. And this is what it looks like when we add in the vector database, right? So you can basically just imagine that at this step right here, instead of simply giving the answer back to the user, we're actually going to go hit a vector database to give the user the answer. So what might that look like? Well, imagine if you have a vector database that has multiple texts from textbooks. You might have different tools that align to different subject matter so that when a user asks a question, you can give a comprehensive answer that considers things like history as well as science as well as philosophy, right? So once again, just kind of running through this basic embedding context, RAG, more slides in here to keep you happy. But the next thing I want to talk about is this idea called Mikayel, which we started looking into because of all of these people using agents. So if you're not too familiar with the information retrieval or search world, there is this kind of like Roman Empire, golden place that people aspire to. One of my colleagues told me that there's a meme going around about how everyone is always thinking about the Roman Empire. And in search, what that is this idea of being able to have an information retrieval system that can understand the context as well as be able to match on exact words. That's kind of the dream goal, and also be able to do this cheaply, quickly, efficiently, right? And that doesn't exist because in information retrieval, we basically have two different models. We've got the sparse model and we've got the dense model. One of them is really good at telling you how many times Hermione was mentioned in Harry Potter. The other one is really good at telling you every time Hermione was mad at Ron in Harry Potter. But either dense or sparse doesn't do the best on picking up on the other one, right? So in search, we're all kind of chasing this ability to not only have the context of the word, but be able to do very precise matching on the word as well. So if we look a bit at the kind of workflow that we have in the past, we're going from left to right. So we can see where we started with these word embeddings, bag of words. But as we went right, we just continued to kind of band-aid or patch the problem, and we created new problems. So one of the solutions to this gap between the context and the exact matching was COIL, which is what Mikayel is based off of. But the issue with COIL is that there was this huge storage overhead. Another solution was Colbert. It's just way too big. Once you start scaling, talking billions of vectors, it's not going to work for you. Then we had sparse encoders like Deep Impact and Co. Those worked, but they had poor out-of-domain accuracy. So now when we're talking about generalizing a search or information retrieval, all of a sudden they don't perform well, and you're kind of just like, okay, this works great for my specific use case. The second you get any kind of sample that's out of your training, it's not going to work well. And then finally, we have splayed encoders, which are very effective due to the document expansion, but also due to the document expansion, they're going to be slow, more expensive. Qdrant's all about being fast, accurate, and also cheap. So we use splayed when we have to, but we prefer not to because of how big the document expansion gets. So this is the formula for BM25. And BM25 is what all of your favorite search engines are based off of. The classic in the industry, really effective at exact term matching. The problem with BM25 is BM25 doesn't know the difference between what these two things are. It just knows that it's a bat, right? And furthermore, it doesn't know that there's more of a similarity between a fruit bat and a cave bat than there is between a baseball bat and a cave bat. For it, it just says bat is bat, right? So we came up with this idea called Mikayel. And Mikayel is our way of just gently nudging BM25 to be able to have some kind of context for the word. So if we look at a typical hybrid search system, what you're going to have is you're going to have that BM25 or whatever you decide to use, and then you're going to combine that with a sparse neural retriever, and then you take those two things together, and all of a sudden you're going to get the best of both worlds, right? That's why hybrid search has become so popular. It kind of is that, it's not ambrosia, but it's Chianti. It's a nice bottle. So what we thought to do was, what if we kind of combine all of these things together and we created Mikayel? So what Mikayel is, it's the BM25 formula, and then we're going to use 4-dimensional vectors to represent the meaning of the word. Fruit bat would be like baseball bat. Calculator would be like calculating. The problem is those things don't mean the same thing, right? We know just from speaking English, the difference between a calculator and someone calculating is quite large, right? So one thing people ask is, why did you choose 4? We chose 4 because we thought that it was enough to give you some kind of direction in terms of the context, because there is also something called Mikayel, which is just 1 dimension, but we found that that wasn't pushing the exact search enough to be effective. We also have Mikayel in 8 and 16 dimensions, but we found that 4 was enough for most words, because unless you're working with a very specific corpus, like let's say legal data or biomedical, how many different definitions are there of most of the words in your vocabulary, right? Probably not that many. There's these exceptions like run, that has like 645 definitions or something, but most of them are going to be able to fit in those 4-dimensional vectors, because we don't need to get the exact context of the word. We just need to be able to look at something like a fruit bat, a bat slept in a cave, and a baseball bat, and then be able to somehow put those in a PCA, or we're actually using triplet loss here to train the model. But the idea here is basically, this is 8,000 sentences that had the word bat inside of them. Over here is the different kind of bats in terms of, we have cave bat, fruit bat, and I'm forgetting the third kind of bat. And then, no, so baseball bat is over here. So what you can see is it grouped the bats together closer than the baseball bat, because it understands that a baseball bat is like completely different than the bats. But you see these 2 lines up in here are from the different specific kind of, bats that fly. So already just from 4 dimensions, what we're finding is you can get context of the word. So whereas BM25 would be like, this is just a bat, with this, what we can do is actually find out the information of the context and the meaning of the word, right? And here we go with fruit bat once again. We get the contextualized embedding a bat, contextualized embedding a fruit. We're going to combine those together, and we're going to do a hybrid search. And then these are some benchmarks that we came out with on MS Marco. If you're not familiar with MS Marco, it's a pretty popular benchmarking data set. And this is without being trained, right? So one thing to keep in mind is we wanted this to be a generalizable model. And it's performing better than BM25. And you might say, well, it's only 0.7 or 0.07. Considering it wasn't trained, that's like a very big deal. But we also want to emphasize that Minicoil isn't about benchmarks. I know that sounds a little silly since I just gave you benchmarks, but we know that people want to see benchmarks. We're more interested in practical use cases for scaling your search or information retrieval system. So Minicoil actually isn't even exclusive to vector databases. It works with any inverted index. So if you are interested basically in having really fast search that still has that context, Minicoil is the solution that we're looking into. We've made this public. We're sharing it with the community before we even make it a package. It's on GitHub if you just search for Minicoil, because we want people to test it, tell us what you think, tell us what your use cases are, where you're seeing your search slowing down, where you feel like your context isn't really coming through. Are you using Splade right now? How are you doing this kind of stuff? We're interested in that. So that's kind of the baby of my CTO, Andre, and my colleague, Jenny. So I'm really excited to be presenting that work. And to tie it back into the AI agents, once again, your AI agent is making tons of calls, right? So if you can make those calls not only more accurate, if you've ever used, for example, something like Cursor, when you sometimes ask it to do something, it's not giving you the hottest answer because it doesn't understand the context of what you asked it for, right? Maybe your file got too big, maybe you're not using the right model. So the idea is basically we want to help improve processes like that, right? So that's Minicoil. And I do have a demo I want to show you quickly. So let me just pull this up. And how am I doing on time? Okay, it looks like I have 10 seconds, or sorry, 10 minutes, 10 seconds.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, awesome. So here's a demo where I can show you, we've got the word bat here, and I hope you can see this, but basically we see here, we've got the bat that's an animal in purple, and we've got the bat that is like a composite bat in red. So here you can kind of see, okay, we're differentiating between this, bat and bat, and then you can also kind of see where those corner cases are. So that's just minicoil.qdrant.tech. And it is also all on GitHub, completely open source. Please check it out. Tell us what you think. Would love your feedback. And then the next thing I want to talk about was GKE. Since we have Google Deepmind coming next, and I thought it was pretty on point to talk about this talk that I just gave at Google Next in Las Vegas about running Qdrant on the Google Kubernetes engine. So we just talked about all that data stuff with, DeepSet. The question that I have for the crowd today is, how many of you guys are running data stuff on Kubernetes? Show of hands. Okay. So it's like, I would say about 50%. And how many of you want to be running data stuff on Kubernetes? Okay, fair enough. So there's people who want to be doing it, but they're not doing it. And the benefit of using something like Kubernetes, I'm going to kind of fly through this, but of course I will be sharing this with you all, is this right here. So basically, this is the Qdrant cloud architecture, right? And I've simplified this just to make it easier to share, but the idea here is that we've got our registry, we've got just the Qdrant cloud app that's going to hit the Qdrant cloud agent, we've got an operator that works in conjunction with Kubernetes API, and then we've got that isolated situation, which allows your data to just stay with you or wherever you're storing it. And then from there, we're going to get that workload output, right? Now, the problem, especially in this world of AI agents, is that vectors and indexes are typically cached in RAM. So obviously, we love RAM because RAM's really fast, but the problem with RAM is it's really expensive. So once you start scaling to talk about billions of vectors, it's just kind of not really the most practical solution. And obviously we have things like quantization, which can remove memory and speed up search. But when we looked at Google Kubernetes engine and these new fast disks that they're releasing with the balanced cache, what we found was the average search duration without RAM cache is basically going to go from 32 seconds all the way down to 3 seconds if you're using these Google fast disks. Why? Because, and this is on a worst case scenario where we're not using any RAM. Why? Because Google has been able to create this disk that now is going to allow you to move your storage kind of dynamically, as opposed to having to decide upfront how much RAM you want to be using versus how much SSD you want to use. And these SSDs are super cheap, but they give you most of the performance that you're looking for, so you can just use that. So that's using Qdrant and Google Kubernetes engine. My name's Thierry Damiba. And then I also wanted to just highlight some of the new things that we have coming out. So we just released version 1.14. The score boosting re-ranker is going to be the big one that you can kind of look for there. And then we also have some improved resource utilization, which we're excited about. If you've ever seen the heat map of how your CPU is used, you're into that kind of nerdy stuff, we're excited about that. I also wanted to show you our web UI. So this is our web UI, which we really, really like. And we actually just went through a redesign, and I'm on the wrong user, so let me switch. But basically, this is where you can come to see all the information that you want to know about your cluster. And as I mentioned, anyone can use this for free for up to 1 gigabyte. So I have here, and I'm actually just going to back out here just so that you can see it. I have here a Midjourney collection. So what I did was I took about, I think it's 50,000 pictures from Midjourney. I uploaded them to Qdrant with the image. I have the image URL in here, and then I have the name of the artist as well as the style of the image, which usually is the name of the artist, but sometimes it might be something like cyberpunk, right? So to show you kind of how you can use Qdrant, we have this visualize function, right? And this is just going to grab, I grab 500 points here, so it's going to grab 500 points, and it's just going to visualize them in latent space, and you'll be able to see if you look at these images. Okay, so these are like colorful neon images, and if I go down here, it's colorful portraits of royalty, it looks like, right? So you can see how it's kind of grouped these images together, and then we can also look at the graph, which I really like looking at, where we can specify our sample number and our limit number, so I can even increase this if I want to. And basically what we're looking at here is Qdrant has decided semantically that these images are similar, right? So what you can use this for, and let me bring it down again just so we can see it better. What you can use this for is, for example, if you have an e-commerce store and you want to do recommendations, I think I actually have, yeah, so this is an e-commerce collection that I have from H&M Clothing. So what you could do is you could do recommendations based off of this. I'd go to the shorts, and then I can make recommendations without having to tag anything, because the only thing that I uploaded here was simply the images. We have all the metadata down here, but Qdrant isn't grouping this based off of the metadata, it's based off of the images. So you can imagine any kind of metadata you have, you can build a system to search, recommend, and then you can also, even just from the dashboard, do things like find similar items. So I clicked on this coat that's black. Now I'm going to see a bunch of black coats, right? And obviously, we work with people who are in e-commerce to help them build recommendation systems or anomaly detection, whatever it might be based off of that. So my name is Thierry Damiba. This is Qdrant. Actually, I wanted to just run one query on this video with you guys. So let's continue chatting. And I want to see if it will be able to recognize what is the hair style and shirt color of the person in on the right. And once again, I like this because it doesn't really hallucinate, right? If it doesn't know the answer, it'll just tell you, and this video doesn't provide. So it said curly hair and is wearing a blue shirt. Yeah, I mean, curly hair wearing a blue shirt, right? So kind of cool. This is the power of Qdrant and vector search. We're hosting an event on the 22nd, which you can find on Luma if you're interested. Please follow me on X at PTDamiba. Other than that, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. If not, Thank you for having me, AI User Group. This is awesome.
Cool. Thanks, Thierry. Let's see. Maybe they have questions now. Who has question for Thierry? Yes.
So do you have any pre-built data that's up there? Like, for instance, you had the HM images. Do you have like movies or other types of data? Do you have pre-built?
Yeah, so I'm assuming you mean in your Qdrant collection?
Yes, stuff that we can look at, stuff that we can work with.
Yeah,
stuff that
so
we can explore.
by default, your collection will be empty, but we have sample data sets, if that's what you mean. But by default, your collection will be empty. But we have sample data sets for people. We've got these practice data sets, and then we also have some data sets on Hugging Face as well.
Cool. More questions? Yes.
Hey, sorry. On your last example that you were showing clothes, were you making an embedding of the picture of the clothes, or how were you doing that?
So we embedded the picture of the clothes. That example, what I'm trying to show here, and let me see if I can bring it back up, is that we did embed the picture of the clothes, but we did not embed that metadata, right? So you can see here, I have all the metadata that is associated with this item, right? Such as the product name, the product code, product type number, etc. And Qdrant has something, sorry, we have a fast embed clip. We have an embedding model called clip. And this is an image embedding model, but there's a vision, and then there's also a text model. So what you can do is you can actually upload images with a text pair and have that be your data. But here, we just uploaded the image, and then the transformer model is the one that's picking up the semantic similarity. And clip is a model that came out from OpenAI, I believe, OpenAI researchers. So we built on top of that, we quantized it. All of our embedding models are quantized for speed, but the foundation of it is, yeah, the OpenAI clip model.
So if I want to do something like find similarities to like to that jacket based on my database, I could.
Yep. So the idea is you could literally just upload all of your unstructured data and say, build me a recommendation system that will show me the 5 most similar things, and Qdrant will handle all of that for you. But if you want to, you could also pair the images with text that's descriptive. You see what I'm saying? So you have all the options kind of depending on how structured or unstructured your data is.
Yeah, I have a question. So I'm a little confused where you fit in the AI ecosystem. Are you behind the LLM companies? Are you parallel to them? I mean, for example, are you accessible through OpenAI's APIs?
Yeah, so we are an infrastructure layer, right? So, excuse me, a company like OpenAI or Perplexity, they actually use our product to handle their RAG services, right? So you wouldn't, quote unquote, get Qdrant via OpenAI, but under the hood, OpenAI might be using Qdrant and ChatGPT to update its memory and things like that. So in terms of us, we're the infrastructure layer for the data management, basically, things like storage, retrieval, and indexing. But we are embedding model agnostic, transformer model agnostic, LLM agnostic, front-end agnostic. We don't care what models you're using. We're much more interested in what is your information retrieval, search, recommendation use case.
So those queries that were made, those AI-based queries, that's your AI?
When you say the queries on the video,
Yeah.
that's 12 Labs. Sorry, I should clarify.
Oh.
So that demo specifically is a conjunction between Qdrant and 12 Labs. So 12 Labs has models that we're using via Qdrant to come up with that final answer.
Yeah,
So
that was a little confusing.
you can think of 12 Labs as the embedding model that we're using there.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
All right. I think we're all good. Thanks, Thierry.
Thank you.
And Thierry will be available during networking if you have more questions.
Yes.
Cool. So our last speaker will be Dhruv. He's here. Welcome. So you just need to...
Yeah, I just need a USB-C.
Yes, it's here. Do you have sound with your presentation?
I don't think so.
No?
Yeah. I think the speaker is good enough. Right. Cool.
Whatever is behind you, you can see from this screen.
Ah, okay. All right. Cool. Hi. That was an awesome work by Qdrant. I really loved how you guys made the graphs. I have a sample demo. I'm like, why use Qdrant? Let's use Google AI Studio. Let's see if it can give you the color of the creepy guy. You know? What's the color of the shirt of the creepy guy in the back? And what's his hairstyle? And let's get it in JSON format. Why get in simple text? And I'm just going to use, just 2.5 flashlight. Yep. While that happens, I would like to learn a little bit about the audience. So can you guys? It's just 3 questions. I would like to know more about you guys before I go on and on. Just who are you? Like, what's your background? Have you tried using generative AI apps? So this talk is more towards people who want to get started. It's not like geared towards enterprise customers and stuff like that. So just a quick starting questionnaire. Oh, see, it says green and he's bald. Is that right? I don't know. Let's. Yeah, I guess. Oh, yeah, but yeah. So you guys can do this right now on your phone. This takes you to Google AI Studio. It's free, open to use for everybody. And yeah, so based on the responses, I'm just going to change the talk. So my idea is just to walk you guys through Google AI Studio, show you guys how you can use it for your use cases. So probably if I see some responses over here, I will change my talk accordingly. Yep, so let's start. So what is Google AI Studio? And there is a lot of confusion amongst people. There is Gemini, there is Vertex AI Studio, and I myself don't know. That was the first question I asked my team when I joined the AI Studio team, and even my interviews. I'm like, I have never seen this tool before. I got my interview call, and I asked my hiring manager, hey, what is it that you guys are trying to do? You already have Gemini, there is ChatGPT out there, and yeah, so that's the first question. So even while I was presenting this in Cloud Next, I asked people, do you guys know Google AI Studio? Yeah, I've used Gemini. So that was most of the response that I got. So basically, in one sentence, Google AI Studio is for developers to use the Gemini APIs and also be able to tweak its parameters along the process. So we'll look at a couple of demos where we'll be doing that. And before we start, let's see who our audience is. Okay, so you guys want to build a VR library, network slicing. I probably need to understand more about what this is. Job search assistance, spaced repetition. Okay. And 50% are SWEs. That's helpful because this demo is geared towards SWEs. Researchers, okay, you guys might already know more than I already know. PMs, students. I was hoping I would see some artists, but no worries. I use AI a lot for studying and stuff like that. And let's see, how easy is it? Understanding the API, okay, most of you find it easy, that's awesome. Integrating with existing systems, you find it difficult, okay. So in my demo, I'll also show, how you can use the Gemini API through this tool to integrate it within your system. Yes, how to connect and work together. They don't like to, okay. Okay, you want to pull the entire code. So it's like large context. So that's something we can look at, predictability, cost. Cost is something we can look at. Okay, system prompt. Okay, got it. So we look at all these aspects within this tool. So I'd like to start with somebody who's never built anything yet, right? First time they want to start something with AI. How do we use this tool? So you just say first, we just look at a simple chat example. We have some example prompts here. I want to build an app where, I want to ask some questions about a video. So since this tool is geared towards developers, right? So we already have pre-built example prompts that you can explore from, that you just click on it and it gets loaded into this tool. And yeah, so in this example, we see that we are able to upload a video file, and we are also able to pass in a conversation, and we are able to get the answer. So how do I plug this back into my application? I did an experiment. I played with some of the parameters over here, and probably I also explored with a system prompt. Now, how do I get this and add it to my application? So that's where this tool comes in handy with respect to other tools like Gemini. So there is this small button over there that says get the API code. So you click that, and that gives you the configuration that you need to use in your language of choice. So right now we are supporting a couple of languages that are most famously used for quickly building applications. And you can pick this, plug it into your app, and you can get started with that. And similarly, if you want to look at more examples, right, you can go to the starter app section on the left. So there, let's have some fun. I don't really like cats, but I did like this example where, explain things with a lot of tiny cats. So somebody has built this example app where, it's like we learn while we have fun, right? I don't want to keep looking at boring documentation all the time. So let's see, how does a neural network work, but with cats? Let's see if it works. Okay. Tiny zillion cats. Those, okay, I don't know the terms. I don't know what are neurons. I don't know activation layer, anything, yada, yada. So we have a lot of cats. Each cat can only do one job, right? Maybe one cat checks if something is round, another checks if it's orange, and another checks for a stem. And then we show the cats a picture. So there are some cats that can identify different aspects from the picture. And then those cats which know that, okay, I only know this thing called round, or I only know this thing called a stem, those get excited. And they say, hey, there's something round in the picture. Probably we should all yell round. So, and then they start doing that, and then they say probably round and orange, the nudging continues, and then at the end they're like, hey, it's an orange. That's how a neural network works, guys. Yeah, you take a lot of simple tiny parts, and then you keep feeding them examples. They get better over time, just like me. I've never given this talk before, so I'd love to hear your feedback after this conversation or after I do this. Yep, and then they organize themselves, and probably they do it better. So how does this tool help you build such an application? So we have added some example apps within the starter app section. So the end goal of this tool is, right, once you explore all these features of Gemini, right, you have the stream, which is a live functionality, the video generation, etc., etc. But at the end of the day, you want to bring it and take it into your application and quickly quickly get started. So that's where this tool really comes into the picture. So for example, if you look at this example, you could notice that we have used one of the Gen AI libraries. So that's the only part that I wanted to focus over here. So similarly, if you say I tested the chat functionality and I like the prompt settings, etc., I just get the code and also quickly get the API key. I create an API key. You don't need to create a Google Cloud project, etc., etc. You just, say I just select some, or I just create a new project. I don't need to go to Google Cloud at all. I'm doing this for the first time, by the way. Okay, I got the API key, cool. So I can copy this and plug it into the code and get started with it. So that's basically the goal of AI Studio, to help users quickly get started. And while we do that, I'd also like to showcase some of the functionalities in the tool, so that you guys get a better understanding of how to use this. Sometimes people feel that this is really complicated because you see a lot of things. Say we open the 2.5 Flash, there are like so many options out here. So what are these options? How do we use it? So let's just look at some simple demos and see how it goes. Say for example, I want to test the image generation and image editing capability. Here we don't see much of tools that we can test. All right, let's see. Code execution, function calling. All right. Okay. I don't know what example to show. Okay, so I'm just thinking for a persona, right? I'm a developer. I want to quickly build. I want to learn how to use the Gemini API to build an app where I want to say. Okay, let me take the example of the recommendation. People pass in examples, and I want to give them or probably tell something about the picture. So I want to say I'll just take one of the 2.5 Flash models, and in my use case, whenever somebody submits an image, I want to get something like I want to get the pixel locations of objects within that image. So I want structured output, and I go to the structured output editor, and I say X coordinate. I want it to be, I don't know, an integer. Y coordinate, I want it to be an integer, and I want both of it to be a required field. And probably this image doesn't support simultaneous code execution and structured output. So here we also have some sample media that you can upload. Let's say I'm going to upload the image of this food plate. So in my use case, right, I want to prompt the model to give me the bounding boxes of food items on this plate. So I'm just going to test which setting of the app is going to work well for me. Probably, okay. Can you tell me what are all the food items? Okay, this probably isn't doing a good job. Let me turn it off, retry. Okay, stuff doesn't work in demos. But okay, so this is how a developer works, right? We try figuring things out, and at the end of the day, we feel like, okay, probably this is something that might work for me. I tweak a couple of variables. I try out different parameters over here. I try, stop sequences, etc., etc., and then I can go and copy this code. So this exactly matches all the settings that I had defined. and then I would take this and plug it into my application, and this way, this basically acts like a UI or a sandbox environment where you can quickly test out all of Gemini's functionalities. So that's one. So let's look at some of the other functionalities that this tool exposes. So we have publicly made stream and video gen available, and some more are coming up probably in I/O. So for example, let's check out if you want to build. Say I want to build an app of, say we have a physical therapist. I know medical examples are a bit scrutinized because we want to be careful. But there was one person in CloudNext who reached out to me. He was a physical therapist and he used to work with sports people. And this is something I thought might be useful for him, but correct me if I'm wrong. So the use case is we have a patient and this practitioner wants to simultaneously refer what's the latest, latest, exercises that have been found to help a certain, certain pain in the shoulder or so stuff like that. So with this, we can experiment with the different parameters that Gemini can provide. So for example, I'm grounding it with Google search, and so in case I want an example where Gemini also responds to me while I am talking to Gemini, I can turn coverage, and I can say, hey, you know what, act as an experienced physical therapist and help me diagnose this patient. And I can turn on my webcam, allow this time. Hey Gemini, can you hear me?
Best help diagnose your patient. I need some more information. Can you describe the patient's symptoms, including the location, duration, and intensity of their pain or discomfort?
So I'm facing pain in my right shoulder over here. Can you tell me something that has been recently announced, or any recent research that could help me understand what could have happened here in my right shoulder?
Thanks for letting me know you're experiencing pain in your right shoulder. In order to better understand what might be causing your shoulder pain, could you tell me when the pain started and if there was any specific injury or event that may have triggered it?
Yep. So this is an example where we can quickly test if any of Gemini's models would be good enough for a live streaming use case. And then, you can quickly get the code template for it, plug it into your application, and, get started with that. So that's there, and you can test videos as well. Let's say I want to create a video of somebody sprinkling salt. So it takes a while, probably, I guess, 10-15 seconds. And while that's happening, let's look at some other starter apps. Say, for example, what I'd like to do here is look into an example code and see how they leveraged Gemini to build this app. So, for example, this is a simple app which takes voice dictation. So, how do I, as a developer, use this? Use the Gemini API. Let's look at some examples over here. Let me see. All right. So this is the main section where we give it a prompt, and here's an example of how to use the GenAI SDK, and we just call the generate content, and we can use we can parameterize the model name and pass in the content. And we get back the response. So this app, you can live tweak this app and play around with it to get a feel of how do you integrate these APIs into a web application, and quickly learn how to do it better. Okay, so this video is ready. So let's see if it works. Okay, cool. Yep. And yeah, so let's see another example of how Gemini can work with spatial understanding out of the box. Say for example, I have an image of, where did that go? Okay, fox and armadillo, and I want to build 2D bounding boxes. So this is out of the box, no training, no, it's not fine-tuned. So this is also able to do image processing out of the box. So yep, that's about AI Studio. You could compare models side by side and individually tweak the parameters if you want to test out different prompts against each other. And let's see which other feature do I want to talk about. Yep, it's mostly that. And from this tool, you could quickly open the documentation page. And if you are someone who is more into understanding the individual parameters and knowing what it means, there's an easy way to move to the documentation page from this tool. Yeah, that's mostly about what I have. I'm open. Do you let me know if you have any questions?
Yes.
You can stand up, I think.
Yes, I'm here. Yes, wait.
Oh, okay. I don't know where.
First question. Yes. Can I open up my GitHub repo with this and interact with that so I can save it?
So right now we do support YouTube URLs, but GitHub is not supported as of now. So we do have certain models that are coming up where you can pass in links, but that there is no explicit integration with certain like third-party websites so far. Like public URLs like Wikipedia and stuff like that, those would work.
I'm just curious how I can iterate between my application and AI Studio. You say you can copy paste in and out of it. But can I take my application code and put that into AI Studio so that it builds an integrated app?
No, so this tool does not help you directly code on this and deploy it or publish the code to your GitHub. This is more of a sandbox environment where you can play around with restricted examples, and it just stays within this tool. It doesn't get easily integrated. So there are other tools like Firebase Studio, which is something that Google recently launched. So through that you can directly push it to prod once you have developed something on the Firebase AI Studio console.
Cool.
Yeah.
Hey Dhruv. So there are a lot of functionalities which we have through the AI Studio, but when we try to integrate with the API to our apps, do we still get these functionalities in terms of, let's say, if we are to use multimodal data through the app, can we access all of that using the API keys, or that is only restricted to the studio as of now?
No, in fact, AI Studio has only a limited set of features that we are displaying here. So we are gradually onboarding all the functionalities that Gemini has exposed through its publicly available APIs. So in fact, you can do more than what's available here on AI Studio as of today. This just acts as an initial starting point for people to use it as a UI to play with the Gemini API instead of writing console log statements and having to create Python notebooks to test out the Gemini API and build POCs.
Good, thank you.
Yeah.
maybe not completely related to Studio, but the feature grounding with Google search. The question, why it doesn't allow to access search results URLs?
I'd like to understand your question better.
If you look at description and search results, it performs search, do answer based on search results, but instead of links to found resources, it returns some encrypted, and the API description explicitly say you only allow to use them for end user UI. If we detect any automated download, it will block your access.
Oh, you mean like if you wanted to trigger some process based on the received response?
Like verify, it find some results and like agent need to verify.
Okay, so if I understand it correctly, it's like it's not just a simple search and document, like a plain document has other things like authentication or some sort of firewall or other things for that, for reading that URL.
Can you just do a simple?
Yeah. Tell me about, is there anything in particular that you want me to search?
How to use Gemini Python API.
Okay. API, and just to be sure, do a Google search. No, let's see.
Okay. So if you see those links, it's not to page. It's something intermediate search.
You mean these are all intermediate search results and not the final answer that you're expecting?
Yes, an API explicitly say you not allow it to download those results programmatically.
But I don't know. I probably will talk after this. I'll also look at what it says and I can explain better.
Yeah, I did experiment with it today, and wow.
Yeah, I'd like to actually learn more about your experience so that I can talk about it to the team. I'll talk to you after this.
Yeah. Thank you.
Sounds good. Okay, one more question.
We know that of the top 10,000 sites in the world, most of them are built with Java, or PHP, or Ruby on Rails. When will you be supporting any of those languages and frameworks?
You mean like code generation through Gemini?
Yes.
I think I need to check with the Gemini team. I'm not on that team, so I'm not sure. I think will take time, probably. I'm not the right person.
Okay, sounds good. Dhruv, thank you. Let's give Dhruv a round of applause. He will be here during networking for more questions.
Yeah.
All right. Do we have anyone who wants to come here to present something to the community? Yeah, you can come. Anything interesting you're working on? Any job opportunities? If you are looking for a job, yeah, you can come here. It's the right time.
Thank you, serial entrepreneur. My name is Rihan, and I have been a serial entrepreneur. I have failed 100 times. I call myself a PhD in failure. I've done business in 7 countries, and around 3 years ago, I have started a school, which is because my children were growing up. So I wanted to design a school for the AI and the internet era. So in our school, our goals are kind of crazy. We want to have every student who graduates our high school. It starts at 5th grade. They should be able to impact 1 million people positively. They should be able to have an exit with $1 million before they graduate high school and be in the Guinness Book of World Record. So I'm hoping that we can start a school in San Francisco also. We have 300 students at the moment, started 2 years ago. And if anybody of you wants to enroll himself or their children, that'll be great. Our students have to enroll their parents 2 hours a week also, because everything is AI based and they don't get it, what we are doing, so we enroll them also. So that was my presentation. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Rehan. Yes, you can come.
Hi, my name is Andy Stevko, and I'm a software developer, platform engineer, Kubernetes, working with Web3 and AI nowadays. So I'm looking for a new job. Do you have any, either startup or enterprise? I'm handy with both. So, thank you.
Great, yeah.
Hi, my name is David Zoe, and I'm a full stack developer. I also do AI agents and everything. I'm looking for a technical co-founder. So I'm technical, also looking for someone else who's technical. I built an working MVP that is AI agents that automate court forms for family lawyers. So this is legal tech, legal AI tech. I built basically most of the infrastructure already. And yeah, like we have 2 firms as like onboarding design partners. And I just moved to San Francisco like last month.
Wow.
So I'm adapting the product to California law, and yeah, very happy and open to chat.
Nice. Hey, he just moved here and he came to our meetup, so he has a good taste. Okay, next one.
Hey everyone, my name is Hendrik. I work for a company called Aparavi. We basically help enterprise to understand their entire unstructured data estate. We've been doing that for 7 years with the Gen AI revolution. Unstructured data, of course, has been becoming the gold of every organization. So I'm growing the team. I'm looking for 1 AI lead and 3 other AI developers, preferably really very strong skills, obviously, with unstructured data, image processing, video processing, very important. Come talk to me. I'm organizing as well a hackathon in 2 weeks at Frontier Tower. So far, I think we have 350 people signed up, but we still have a lot of space to grow. If you're interested in that, please come also talk to me. And yeah, looking forward to it.
Cool. All right. Who else? Yes? Don't fight. Cool.
Hi, I'm Karthik. I work in the ad space, and I'm trying to use AI to automate a lot of the ads pipelines that I work on. I'm a 2 times fail founder, and I failed for the first time and the second time not in San Francisco. So this time I want to fail in San Francisco, and that's why I came here. So yeah, I've been here for like 3 weeks, and I love this place. It's kind of fun. So looking forward to meet all of you and learn from you. Yep.
Who else?
I'll take my chance. Hi, I'm Jean-Philippe. I'm the founder of Symbionic Foundation. We are empowering people with a health wallet to put all the data in one place, traverse it with an AI copilot that actually recommends longevity interventions and how to fix their health. So health and preventive care is our gig. We're basically at architecture level on paper right now, and we're looking to raise. So I want to talk to people who have more experience than me. I'm just a product guy, I'm not a dev. I have a CTO, he's in Denver. Talk to someone who understands federated learning, who understands small language models, who understands hypergraph RAG, because that's kind of the things that we want to get into. Thank you.
Awesome. Is that it? Cool. Okay, so we're going to wrap up now. Thank you all for coming. We have some warm pizzas on the back. So thank you all, and we see you next time. Thank you.